Welcome to my channel. My name is Molly Malloy and I teach 5th grade in Southern California, and today I'm going to be sharing all about how I organize my classroom library. We have 3 different sections in our classroom library: fiction, informational, and graphic novels, and I'm going to show you each of the sections, how I organize them, and just little tips and tricks for each section. I really want my students' experience in our classroom library to be authentic and to help teach them how to look for books, not only in our classroom, but also when they are at bookstores or public libraries. This section here is our fiction section. As you can see, it takes up 4 bookshelves, and the books are arranged in alphabetical order by author's last name. Each book has a label on the bottom of the spine, and the labels have both letters and they are color coordinated, so students can easily find where books go and put them away, and then they also know their favorite authors, which section to go to find them. Another reason why I love the book labels is we can see every single book in our classroom library. So nothing is hiding and nothing is lost in the back of a book bin. We can easily glance and see all of the titles. Kids, as they are browsing for books, they can read the titles and see what books pique their interest. This is where we keep the graphic novels in our classroom library. They are separate from the rest of the books. There's a few reasons for that. One of them is that my students love the graphic novel format. They flock to this. They will read any book, whether it's fiction or informational, if it is in graphic novel form. And so these books are kept separate. They are up here. They do not currently have labels. However, I will be adding labels to them this summer. But really, students know the format of these books, and so it's easy for them to know where they go. We just try to keep them organized so that they are kind of with other books that are the same series or topic. So not perfect, but they do a really good job. Next up is our informational book section. This was a huge undertaking this summer. I used to keep these books organized in book baskets by subject, but there are so many different subjects. So some books like dinosaurs didn't really have a good basket. I had an animal basket, but it just had all kinds of different books in it. It just was not really a good fit. And I found that my students did not really read the informational books that were in the baskets. Part of the reason was I feel like they couldn't find them really. They didn't know what they were looking for. So what I did is I created book spine labels that are similar to the fiction ones. However, these ones, instead of having letters on them, they have icons on them, which helps students know where to look for specific books and topics that they are interested in. So the way that I thought was best to organize these books is based on the Dewey Decimal System, since that is how books are arranged in public libraries. And that way I could make sure that nothing was left out. So even if I have one book from a random topic, it had a spot. Before we go any further, I just want to stop right here and say that even though we call this our informational bookshelf, it is not just informational books. So the Dewey Decimal System also includes books in this section right here that is poetry, jokes and riddles, plays, things like that. So it is mostly informational books, however, not all informational books. So what I did is I broke down all the books in the Dewey Decimal System, and I tried to sort them into different categories that I thought worked well together. So you can see, like, I kept pets and farm animals together, cooking, sewing, costume design, and then each section has a different icon that goes with it. So if students are looking for books and they know that they really like books about dinosaurs, they're going to look and see that the dinosaur books have this orange label with a dinosaur skull on it, and then they can go down to the bookshelves to locate that section. You can also see that our poetry books are tucked in here, as well as some other sections that before I never had out my bookshelves because I didn't know where to put them. So now everything has a spot, every book has a spot, and students know easily where to go if they are browsing for books for a certain topic. I also want to take a second to talk about the books on display. So these display racks I picked up from Joann Fabrics years ago. I think they still have them there though. And my student librarians are in charge of choosing which books they want to display. So I have 3 display racks over here, and then we also have an informational one too. So our class librarians are in charge of keeping those and switching out books that they are displaying. For the next part in this video, I'm going to show you how I label my library books so that you can do the same to your library if you are looking to organize yours in a similar way. So these are the labels that I use with my books. I created these years ago when I first started organizing my books in my classroom library this way. And what I did is I created a template. I have these available in my Teachers Pay Teachers store as a digital file that you would download and then print. The labels that you would print them on are these Avery labels. The type of labels that you want to get depends on if you have an inkjet or a laser printer, so I will link both in the description below. Also, another thing about the labels is they have 3 different formats. So these are the ones that I originally created that have just the letters on them. And so these are the ones that I use in my classroom library. I just print them off, and then when I need to use the letter, I can just easily peel it off and stick it on the spine of the book. I also, this last summer, added 2 more options for people who wanted ink saving options. And so this first option has 3 different letters to a page. And so what you would do if you're using these ones is cut them. I use a paper cutter and just cut them into strips so that each label has 3 different letters. This is especially great if you have books that have thinner spines, thinner book spines, and you don't need really wide labels. And then kind of the same idea, this is another label option that has just the color down the center. And so if you're using these labels, you wouldn't necessarily have to cut them. You would just peel off the label and put it on your book, just making sure that the colored letter part was on the spine. So those are 2 different options that I created for you guys. However, this is the option that I use in my classroom library most of the time. When I am labeling my books, all you do is you're just going to take the label off. It's really important for me, for my library, that my labels are all lined up. So I make sure that when I put on the label, that I put it down at the very bottom of the book. So that way when they're on the shelf, they are really nice and lined up. The next thing that I do after I put the label on the book is definitely optional. However, if your labels are printed on a laser printer, I would definitely recommend this next step. So inkjet printers, when they print, the ink stays on really well. It doesn't really rub off. I used them for years and didn't have any issues. The laser printers though, and if you order the labels from a print shop, they most likely will use a laser printer. I noticed that the ink sometimes just rubs off of the label. And so I take an extra precaution and I cover the label with a piece of clear tape just to make sure that it stays really nice and that the color stays on and doesn't rub off. I will link the tape that I use in the description box below, but this tape I could not find available in store. I had to order it online. It is a special 1-inch tape, so that way it is wide enough to cover the whole label. I also found 2 different options that I will also link below. They're actually library label tape, and so they are pre-cut and everything. They're super easy to put on. They have a little bit more of a matte finish, but I will link them below if you are looking to just save a little bit of time while you are covering your labels. Also, I really want to point out that I have been building my classroom library for 10 years. So my first year teaching, my library did not look like this. I had 1 bookshelf that was not even filled all the way, and all the books that I had were pretty much either donated from other teachers or I picked them up for super cheap at garage sales, library sales, things like that. So if you are a new teacher, do not feel like your library has to look like this your first year teaching. It definitely does not. This is just what I have built up over 10 years. Let me know in the comment box if you want to see a video on how I built up my classroom library collection. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button below. See you next time.